Hello, everybody. Trying to figure out what's going on here with
recording in progress.
And certain alternative building materials.
got it.
These changes can create a historic amount of new housing options, and when taken together with our other housing strategies, will improve housing affordability for all Oaklanders.
It's really important to have the ability to achieve housing at a very approachable rate, and that's what the potential legalization of tiny homes in Oakland would offer. Tiny homes are just this magic tool to have, a safe, affordable place to live. Who lives here? Gardeners, pedicab drivers, carpenters, mechanics, social workers, teachers. We're mostly middle class, working class folks just looking for an affordable space to live. RVs, tiny homes, this is a way to stay. It's a practical way to keep a roof over your head, be insulated from the environment, and have a steady 8 hours of sleep. And the only issue is these laws that prevent it.
I'm Carol Galante. I'm the faculty director of the Turner Center for Housing Innovation at UC Berkeley. I'm also an advisor to Factory OS, this remarkable company that is changing the way we build, and that's where I'm sitting right now. I've been very excited to hear about the initiative that Oakland is starting around how to really help more developments that use innovative construction techniques to be able to be built faster and less expensively in Oakland, including some zoning code changes and other expediting types of measures. So it's really exciting, and I have to say Oakland is clearly going to be a model for what other communities can do to facilitate getting the cost of housing down for the individuals who will live in these developments. They're actually going to get to live in this development and maybe off the street much faster, like half the time that it takes to build housing our traditional way. And so that's really the most important thing that I can say about this type of work is people are going to get housed faster. Whatever public money we're putting into developments is going to go farther because it costs less to build these developments. And at the same time, you're building great union jobs.
Well, I came to Oakland in 1978. I've always told people that it came with $300 in a duffel bag and a couple of phone numbers. When I got to Oakland, it was a real, not only acceptance, but appreciation for differences. And that's how I raised my children. When I got back here and couldn't find a place to live, it was horrible. Even though I saw hundreds of vacancies, but there were vacancies that there's no way I could touch them. This has been a perfect situation. There's a sense of community here. We look out for each other. Right now, it's given me a sense of peace and a sense of independence, allowing us to remain here and other people to be in similar situations. It would give me a sense of security because without this, I don't know where I would wind up. I wouldn't probably be able to stay here. And then I'd have to go someplace else, and I don't know where that would be. Because part of the reason that I came back was to be closer to family. We are our brother's keeper. I'm not extremely religious, but we're connected. And we all owe each other whatever help we can offer. So that law would make a difference in a lot of people's lives.
Thank you. It's time for me to acknowledge several people. Messiah Midyun from our office produced that beautiful video. Thank you, Messiah, for putting some heart and soul behind building and zoning code amendments. That was just spectacular. Before I turn it over to one of my two council co-sponsors, I also want to acknowledge that the MTC, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and ABAG, the Association of Bay Area Government, who provided the funding for this research. That research was performed in part by Urban Planning Partners. They led the technical aspects of the research under the supervision of the amazing Darren Renoletti, the Policy Director for Housing Security to the Mayor's Office, and formerly with Oakland's Planning and Building Department. I want to acknowledge that this research actually just won a very prestigious award from the Northern California chapter of the American Planning Association. Before I turn it over to Councilmember Kalb, co-sponsor of this ordinance, just in case you had any questions about the severity of the Bay Area's housing crisis, a recent analysis that defines affordable housing as housing that costs less than 30% of your income. This analysis found that only 72% of the Bay Area is, let me rephrase that. Today, 72% of the Bay Area is unaffordable to households earning the median income, and 0% is affordable to those who earn the minimum wage. This is a crisis that requires an array of solutions. One of them is going to be to make construction less expensive and to have more flexibility and invite innovation in housing types and construction methods. Again, this ordinance applies only to private property. Only to private property. It does not impact the issues that we are dealing with on public property with regard to our unsheltered population, but we believe that these types of innovations are going to create more affordable housing for all, as well as have an impact on our struggles with homelessness here in the Bay Area. And with that, it is really my pleasure to turn this over to co-sponsor, Councilmember Dan Kalb. Dan.
Thank you, Mayor Schaaf. Thanks everybody for being here today. I'm very happy to be partnering with our mayor as well as with Councilmember Sheng Thao on this innovative set of proposals. As everybody knows, we have a very serious housing crisis in Oakland and throughout much of the Bay Area. And we know that no one effort, no one solution is going to solve the entire problem. But we also know that because we have to put together a multitude of solutions, each one should go forward. This ordinance will update a number of our out-of-date, I would say antiquated cities, zoning and building codes. For example, this will create new rules to allow people to live in RVs, mobile homes, tiny homes on private property in a safe and healthy, respectable manner. It removes an old existing ban on new mobile homes and manufactured homes in Oakland. It creates flexible rules for the smaller efficiency dwelling units. It removes a certain barrier that we have to facilitate modular housing. It establishes more requirements and flexible requirements. That's key, flexible requirements for tiny homes and various alternate building materials. Basically, these changes will enable a wider variety of housing options and allow more people to live in the city who want to live in our city. And the expectation is, because of these new options, that they'll be at a lower price than the typical housing units we have throughout our city. And these will be, of course, rental units. Some property owners, we hope, are open to putting let's say a couple tiny homes or a couple mobile homes on their property. If they are willing to do that, we should not let antiquated rules get in the way of that. Let's find a way to say yes. Again, there are many things we need to do to address our housing crisis. As you heard before, preservation, protection, production, we need to do all those things and do them better and do them more, especially get more affordable housing built, continue to protect our renters so we can stem the tide of displacement as we've been doing for a number of years. But here's one set of things that we could do now to provide more options for people and provide more housing options and more housing units for those in need. And so that's why we're doing this. I'm thrilled to be working with the administration, with the mayor, with Councilmember Thao on this. We're going to go through a process, including the Planning Commission, to vet this. And I hope we get it passed sometime this summer so we can start getting these more units, these additional units online for people to live in. Thank you again, and I'll hand it back to the mayor and to Mr. Darren Renoletti.
Yeah, let me bring Darren on. This is the mastermind behind all this work. As Councilmember Kalb said, this is coming to the Oakland Planning Commission for its very first reading tomorrow, and then it will work through the legislative process. At this point, we're happy to open it up to questions from anyone on the line. If you could raise your hand and then state your name and your media outlet as we call on you. I see Zenophon Abraham.
Good afternoon or morning, everybody. My question is, where is the city in terms of meeting the financial incentives to have more homes of this type built as opposed to just regulatory? I ask because SB 628 Beal has been on the books since September 14th of 2015. The city has never used it. It's actually a variant of the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing Program. And yet the only time it's ever come up has been in the form of Howard Terminal and its variant, SB 293 Skinner. So I'm curious to know, when are we going to get back to really reinstalling the redevelopment system we had that gave us arguably the best affordable housing budget in the state of California now, as opposed to prior to 2011 when it was killed? Thank you.
Zenny, you are absolutely correct that the end of redevelopment has been the biggest hit to our funding sources for regulated affordable housing, protected affordable housing that California has ever seen. We are not seeing any indications that redevelopment is coming back to us anytime soon. We are starting to explore the use of enhanced infrastructure financing districts, which is a tool that can be used to finance affordable housing. But this is us really kind of doubling down on the fact that we need to focus our very limited public dollars on meeting the needs of our most vulnerable, and that we have to find ways to make unregulated housing, market rate housing, more affordable to more people. Darren Renoletti, can you please come off camera and add your knowledge? You know, Mr. Abraham threw out a lot of state regulations and bill numbers. Please add something to this. And Dan, you're welcome to chime in too.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Darren Renoletti, the Policy Director for Housing Security with the Mayor's Office. And great question. You know, what we're focusing on right now is updating our codes to allow these kinds of expanded options. So the city has more flexibility in how it programs its affordable housing funding. So right now, if it wanted to program funding to make these more affordable, it couldn't. So enabling these expanded options would give the city more flexibility and options as it looks at ways that it can increase housing affordability. So in the future, it could structure programs that could target affordability at these types of housing.
I'll also add, Zeddy, thank you for the question. The City of Oakland did support a couple bills in successive years by Senator Jim Bell to really come back with not exactly redevelopment, but something much closer to it, with a focus, with a greater focus on affordable housing. Unfortunately, those bills did not see the light. They saw the light of day, but in one case, the governor vetoed it. Another case, it didn't even get to the governor. So unfortunately, we weren't able to achieve that. Now Senator Bell is no longer a senator. We hope the legislature at some point will bring back a new form of modified redevelopment with an extra focus or a strong emphasis on affordable housing. And I think the City of Oakland will support that effort if there's a bill to work on, and I hope there will be in the future. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
All right, next, I see a question from Melissa, Colorado.
Yeah, hi, Mayor. Just wondering, how is the city going to ensure that these alternative dwellings have access to water, to trash pickup, to a sewage system? Because in that specific community you profiled, we were there doing a story on them, we were interviewing them, and they rely on porta potties that they themselves pay for, but that was an issue for the next door neighbor who had an issue with the porta potties being situated there. So I'm wondering, how is the city going to ensure that these alternative dwellings have access to the things that any community needs?
Yeah, absolutely. We do not want to compromise on health and safety and want to be mindful of the impacts on neighbors. Darren, can you go into some more specifics about how these new laws actually do guarantee no nuisances and health and safety?
Sure. First of all of the city's existing ordinances around trash and blight would still apply. These facilities would have addresses, and they'd be required to have trash collection and refuse service. Regarding the utilities that are most important, water, power, and sewer, if you only have one RV, then we would be allowing an off-grid alternative for power, so someone could do solar or wind power, for example. And they would also be enabled to access a kitchen and bathroom in an existing house, for example. So there would be alternatives if there's one RV on the site. If there are two or more alternatives, we would be requiring that those RVs and tiny homes be connected to the city water and sewer systems so that they're providing a decent living environment for those occupants and protecting public and environmental health and safety.
And I'll just add, I think it's important that, and we are continuing to work on this, that we do allow in cases that are manageable to have an alternative compliance pathway, essentially, have an alternative way to make sure that sewage as well as water and power are dealt with in a safe and healthy manner, because every living unit has to have access to that. There are alternative pathways, as Darren just mentioned, one option, and we're looking at those. We're continuing to look at those to make sure that whatever we do, there are options and flexibility built in, as long as health and safety continues to be paramount.
Yes, I see a request for some Espanol. I can, maybe what I will do is record something for you and get it to you promptly. I think I could do a better job with just a minute of preparation. Keith Burbank from Bay City News, do you want to unmute yourself? Or Darren, I don't know if you want to take a stab at this. How quickly will prices come down? How long will it be before we see prices come down? Thank you. And I think, some of these things could have pretty immediate impacts, because I was out at Factory OS and there are units stacked waiting to be delivered. But to speed up the approval process, we should see some immediate benefits. But Darren, do you want to respond in more detail to that question?
Well, we've heard that with the pandemic, construction prices are escalating even faster due to supply chain issues and costs of building materials. And so, this is an approach at getting at a holistic approach to construction prices. So it depends upon where the site is, how big it is, when it's built. I think some of these facilities can be implemented very quickly. What's nice about RVs and tiny homes on wheels is that they're manufactured very quickly. I think this would enable these facilities to be up and running very quickly. Some of the other changes in the code around how we regulate modular housing and efficiency dwelling units over time will either see an effect on prices stabilizing or coming down. In the context of regional, nationwide, and global construction markets, rents in Oakland, because of the pandemic, depending on who you ask, they're either going up or going down. I think that this is an uncertain period right now. Our hope is that with these new rules that emerging from the pandemic, that we'll be starting to see a lot more variety of housing options coming on the market to meet the needs of Oaklanders.
And I'll just add, on my recent tour of Factory OS, I was told that they can build housing at 70% of the cost and in half the time. And that is using unionized carpenters. So they are a labor shop, and I think that is a really encouraging model. What our ordinance will do is accommodate the different thickness that modular units have to allow them to enjoy the height limits that were actually based on traditional construction methods. So in some ways, it will allow these projects to potentially be 1 story higher than originally planned, and that savings will be passed on to tenants. Matt Boone, I see your hand up. Matt needs to be unmuted. Or Matt, you should try and unmute yourself.
There we go. Having some trouble unmuting myself. Thank you, Mayor. Good morning. Along the same lines, I was curious if during the past 2 years of research, the city was able to estimate how many properties these zoning changes would apply to and how many, I guess, affordable housing units could be or will be allowed to be constructed over the next few years. Are there any goals or metrics or any idea of the kind of scale of the impact that this new ordinance could have over the next couple of years on the number of units available?
Well, the goal is set by the RHNA, the regional housing goals set by our regional governmental authorities, ABAG and MTC. Darren, though, you're the one who knows all the details of that analysis. I don't know if there were any projections that came out of the Oakland specific research.
Because the proposal is so broad that covers so many aspects of the zoning and building codes, it's not specific to particular locations in the city or building types. So for that reason, we're really looking at it contributing holistically the city's ability to produce housing. And as the mayor said, that we have some pretty ambitious goals to build a lot of housing to house Oaklanders, and we're hopeful that this will help us do that.
Dan, I know you've been active in the RHNA setting process. Please add.
Yeah, I'll add to that. Since this new set of ordinances we're putting forward today deals with private property, there's no way to really predict roughly how many private property owners will take advantage of this, although we do believe there will be some. I've talked to some already, and we do believe there will be some. So it's hard to know. But again, this is part of a broader strategy that is still being expanded upon to get more, especially below market units available, whether it's shifted from what they are today or newly constructed or what have you. It's not easy to do any of this, but we are doing it as best we can, and we need to do more. Fortunately, the state will be providing money in their new budget to help us deal with the challenges we face with homelessness and affordable housing, and we hope to use those funds as efficiently as possible to get more units built and available for our residents. And so this is one set of laws that will help enable and set the table to put these mobile home types of units on private property. And I believe there will be many homeowners who take advantage, maybe many property owners who take advantage of this.
And just to remind people, this is not about producing more regulated, protected, affordable housing. This is about creating more affordable market rate or unregulated housing by creating all these different types of units, as well as allowing smaller units, which we have done on a variance level in Oakland, but they've been very successful. So it's really an innovative way to bring down the cost of market rate housing, while we do all the other things to increase our protections of tenants so they can stay where they are with reasonable rents, and so that we can produce more regulated, protected, affordable housing. These are all strategies that we are doubling down on, but this is an innovative thing that we hope the rest of the Bay Area will adopt, because it's not just Oakland that has gotten a tremendous increase in our housing requirements. Every city in the Bay Area is being expected to produce more housing over these next years. And these legal changes will allow that to happen from the market end in a more rapid and affordable way. Melissa, your hand is up, but it could be up just from before. If you have another question, I'll call on you. And if you don't, you can put your hand down. I do not.
Sure. I'll ask another question. As far as fire hazards go, or just meeting fire codes, is the city going to be making visits to these new homes, alternative dwellings?
Absolutely. In fact, the setbacks required were very much a point of discussion with our fire department. They were full partners in the development of these codes to ensure that they are still advancing fire safety, which is a big issue in the city of Oakland. Darren, I don't know if you want to add specifics. And Dan, I know fire safety is a big concern in the part of the city you represent.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. This has been developed in close coordination and consultation with the fire department. There are requirements for inspection to make sure that these units are installed properly. There are safety standards that will be applicable, and as well as verification that these are built according to state mandated fire safety regulations. So fire safety is of the utmost importance. Also, just really quickly building on what the mayor previously said around this reducing the cost of construction for market rate housing. We are also seeing an increasing interest in using these innovative construction techniques for subsidized affordable housing. We're seeing more and more modular housing that is being built for subsidized lower income affordable housing. And so those projects could also benefit from these changes.
I'll just quickly add, the existing fire regulations will still apply here. For example, Darren, correct me if I'm wrong, we're still make sure that there's still a 6-foot distance between these new structures, whether they're tiny homes or mobile homes, and any existing structure, or between the two structures if there are 2 mobile homes. And that 6-foot distance is still, we're not changing that, we're not lessening that. Fire safety is paramount, and we will not, while we are making many changes when it comes to questions around planning and the heights and the zoning and blight ordinance and so on and so forth, we're not going to be reducing our fire safety regulations. Those will stay as they must be to protect health and safety.
Zenny has his hand up for another question.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Mayor. Just out of curiosity, is there or will there be a website where I can send readers to regarding where these homes are located and their availability or when they're available, and also the current crop of homes like that? Thank you.
No, I mean, these are homes like any other. I don't know if there would be a directory that says this home would not have been built but for the new codes. I mean, Darren, is there anything to that effect in the works?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that if folks are just interested in finding out more about the proposal, the city's planning commission website has the full report on the proposal. So feel free to take a look at that and direct folks to that. But the mayor is right that what we are doing is recognizing these alternative and expanded types of housing as dwelling units. And so if folks are looking for a place to live, these would be an additional option. So just like you would look on Craigslist for an apartment in the foreseeable future, you might look on Craigslist for a tiny home or an RV for rent or for sale. Or if you are a tiny home or RV owner looking for a place to park it that meets all of the city's codes and standards, you could look at those traditional advertising sites as well.
And we will be posting that fabulous video also to the city's website as part of this press announcement. And it's actually linked in the chat as well for anybody who wants to push that video out that really, like I said, put some heart and soul behind building and zoning code provisions.
And a reminder that this will be heard at the Planning Commission tomorrow afternoon around 3 o'clock or so. I'm not sure exactly what time it will be heard. And it's an opportunity. I think it's important. Is we're going through a legislative process. It's been nearly 2 years have been spent already, and now we're in the last couple stages of the legislative process. And this is one of the places we've already got some good feedback from various organizations and advocacy groups and individuals. And now here's a chance to, in a more public setting, to get additional feedback. So please tell people about the Planning Commission. It'll come to the City Council a couple of times later on in the summer. And this is a chance to hear what people's concerns are, what questions are, ideas, suggestions. And then the final stages will be, the final drafts will be written after these hearings are set.
Great. Well, seeing no further questions, I bid you all adieu. I hope you please put out this very innovative, thorough piece of work, and that we encourage other cities in the Bay Area to adopt these types of changes so that we accommodate the innovation that has made the Bay Area famous. It is time that we bring more efficiency and flexibility to housing construction so that we can address the Bay Area's housing affordability crisis. Thank you everyone for joining us. I will work on a Spanish statement to send out to Spanish media within the hour. So thank you everyone and have a great day.
Hey, sorry, everybody. That meeting is over. And that I will close this broadcast. And we will return with another one later today. Thank you. And subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. What I was doing in the background was I was putting up the video that was presented by the mayor's office that if you watch this, you saw. It is now on Oakland News Now. Thank you.